Sweet. Well, now I gotta find the agenda. All right. Okay, let's start with some general updates. I'm going to try to get through all of these things because a bunch of stuff's happening now. And the people that I've tagged in this agenda, hopefully you guys can speak about the issues yourself if you're on the call. Otherwise, I'll just give like a brief blurb. But starting off, volume just keeps going up. I think you can, everyone, I feel like this is not as well known that we have this public dashboard that people can look at to see what's happening. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add it here again, one more time into the agenda as we speak. But yeah, I think it's been like 100 million volume, perps volume every day this week. And I think there was one day we had more than 1 billion for our 7-day volume. So volume keeps going up. Mango price keeps going down, as is natural, as you would expect, as the volume keeps going up. No, sorry, that's not what you'd expect. But anyway, and of course, a lot of chaos regarding the TPS, Solana TPS issues. And honestly, it's been pretty distracting because everyone and their mother is like screaming in your ear. So at some point we had to just decide to, well, it's kind of hard to ignore it because especially if you have trading systems running as well. But that was a pretty big distraction of the week. And so just wanted to put that out there because I know it's been a distraction for everyone and probably everyone lost money. And I can tell you the devs have lost money, mainly me, and the devs have also suffered along with you. But then, so yeah, like since that's the main thing that has happened since the last 2 weeks, so let's just talk about that, the TPS issues. So I try to keep up with this, but I'm probably, there's always like a new theory every couple days. So now I'm just going to call these theories. But as far as I understand, there were there were these radium transactions that were super heavy in compute. More than 1 million compute per transaction. And currently Solana doesn't limit the amount of compute in a transaction. You just keep stacking more and more instructions into a transaction. And so normally that's not terrible, that's not bad, the network's fine with that, but sometimes bots come in and start spamming it for an IDO, and then nodes, maybe even the leader is able to play it, but the other nodes have to replay it, and then they kind of fall behind. So yeah, and then what's been done about it, and I think the fixes have kind of worked. We have these kind of TPS slowdowns still, but they're not as they don't last like 7 hours. And so it feels more like jitters of maybe like 20, 10 minutes or something along those lines. But that's because validators now limit the compute per writable account to 16 million per slot. So the validator keeps track of that. And then if that writable account, say it's some Radium, IDO account, if it exceeds that 16 million, it goes to the end of the queue. It's deprioritized. It's sort of this is sort of a hack, right? It's like a quick fix patch, but I'm glad it was able to be rolled out. It does kind of seem better that way. But that's what I know. And then like 10 minutes ago, Brian Long was telling me this other theory about transaction spam from big trading groups being sent directly to the transaction processing unit of the leader, which, to be honest, I'm totally out of my depth there. So I don't know if Brian could give us some more.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
do my best to, provide some extra background. The high level view here is that the current system is obviously not working very well, right? And transactions are not getting through. There's lots of things that seem to contribute to that problem. So I don't think we can point to any one thing and say that's it. We just kind of need to look at everything in context, and then with that, try to figure out a strategy to go forward. Daffy, like you said, the fixes in 1.8.10 were internal. There was an important metric that was hidden behind a feature flag that was needed to calculate the weight of the transactions. So by just surfacing that internally inside the Solana runtime, they were able to show a nice improvement. There's more work to be done there, but let's see. Sorry, I had to get my stuff on Do Not Disturb because things were bugging me. So there's more work to be done there, but at the moment, the transactions are not really prioritized. So it's almost a first come, first serve approach. And so we need to look at it in that context. The big trading groups are sending transactions directly to the TPU ports, like you said, and they're doing it pretty aggressively. So not a surprise, I guess. We shouldn't be surprised by this. We probably, and I'm going to do this on my validator, we'll probably see more of the validators implement QoS filters on the TPU port. So that we'll say, okay, we've got some traffic that will be preferred, and we're going to let that in first. And then to the extent that it's maybe feels like it's abusive, maybe we accept it at a lower priority, something like that. I'm not suggesting censorship or anything like that. I'm just saying that, we need to somehow manage the traffic that's coming in on the TPU ports. When a transaction goes to an RPC server, it's currently sent to 2 leaders or forwarded to the next 2 leaders. And then there's a max of 1 hop after that. So the transaction will see 3 leaders. And then you rely on retry logic if it doesn't land. So, you get through the 3 leaders, you just keep retrying, but it's the same process of running to 2 leaders and then a hop, 2 leaders and then a hop. And if there's a really big queue on the validators, what's happening is your transactions are just going onto the top of the queue and they don't make it to the bottom before the hops are done. So it's kind of maybe one way to think of it or one way to look at it. And that might, that seems to line up with the behavior where you see a transaction go out, you have a signature, but then you get no confirmation, you get nothing, right? Just radio silence. So, my gut's telling me that's kind of what's going on, is that the transactions are not getting up to the leader in time to be executed, and the retry logic isn't working good enough. So what I'm suggesting that we do is Mango be more aggressive on getting the transactions out to the leaders. That means that instead of forwarding to just 2, we're going to forward further down the leader schedule or further out. So maybe you go out 8 leaders. That'll get you 32 slots. And that basically the goal is to get ahead of that big queue that's getting forwarded from one leader to the next. So we can get ahead of it. Then number one, hopefully you're not at the top, you're at the bottom, so you can get executed. And then number 2 is we're saving all these hops. So we're not doing 2 leaders plus a hop back to a retry to 2 leaders plus a hop back to a retry. We're not doing any of that stuff, right? Let's just get out as far as we can down the leader schedule. We're also going to try something. I think this is going to work pretty well. I had mentioned the QoS filters. that the validators will probably start to stand up. On my validator, I can always make sure that Mango traffic gets through. So the idea there is that that you're getting preference on some of the validators and that you're able to get through and get executed. And we manage a few other validators too, so there's probably enough stake on the nodes that we run that you might see a difference in success of the executions. All of this is probably temporary patches for what it's worth. The future versions of Solana, they will prioritize transactions based on the fee. So, we'll be moving into an environment of variable fees, and then you'll basically just, pay a higher fee if you want a higher priority.
So that's like super new to me, because like as of a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I think Anatoly was saying that that's really hard. The cost of evaluating, if they even have the fee amount and all that stuff, under 40
Right.
seconds too hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's more of a directional thing, right? That they're heading that direction.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is saying, okay, let's be aggressive now, and let's put these things in place today that can help Mango execute transactions.
Yeah.
And then we'll find down the road that we're migrating in some way. But let's see, so that's a part of it. We are seeing, in some cases where Radium in particular, because those transactions are so heavy, that they might be weighing on the blocks a little bit. I think that's gotten better. So I don't know that that's holding us back right now, but it could be just sucking up enough compute units on the weak validator nodes that that's causing trouble. The weak validators do have a hard time trying to replay some of these really big blocks. The Solana runtime is currently constrained. There's only 10 threads running to do transactions in a block. That will change in the future as the validators get faster hardware. And that's how we scale up TPS, is to increase the number of threads. Right now it's artificially constrained just to get some balance there. And let's see, yeah, and I think there's more work to be done inside the runtime for packing the blocks and the efficiency of doing that. What we saw in 8.10 was just a quick fix with more work to come.
Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, so that gives you like a thorough idea of what's going on. So yeah, just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, because I think a lot of people don't know, I mean, myself included, probably Anatoly included, don't know what's going on half the time, but now I think we have a decent idea. And also it sounds like ultimately we have to go to some sort of MEV or proto MEV. I mean, if you have some limited resource, you're going to have to ration it out somehow. And people spamming transactions doesn't seem like the most efficient or correct way to ration out those resources. So yeah.
Hey, Brian, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
When you're talking about the QoS on the TPU ports, now that's the same. Can you differentiate traffic that comes in directly from somebody versus traffic that's forwarded from another validator or from an RPC?
Yeah, that would be the goal, to be honest. And so, we would say that we're going to give preferential treatment if it's coming from these IPs, as example. And then we know the IP addresses that Mango is using to send transactions. So that way I could make sure that your transactions always get onto a high stake node. And then there's a 1 out of 100 chance that it's going to execute directly on my node. If not, I forward it And then, hopefully my traffic, since it is a high stake node, is going to be recognized by the other validators as being high priority. So I think that's the way this is going to play out, is the staked nodes will have a higher priority for forwarding. And I even saw some activity on GitHub today to that effect. And it's Stephen Ackridge has got some work that he's been doing to prioritize based on the stake weight of the sender. So when that one finally lands, if it's coming from my validator's Block Logic, by the way. So if it's coming from Block Logic, it will get treated with higher priority as it gets forwarded to the next validator. So does that make sense?
Not very well. I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, there was another question about that I had when you were talking about the TPUs. You said trading firms were spamming directly into the TPUs. Is there another way? I mean, I thought everyone was sending directly into the TPUs.
Well, the RPC nodes will receive TCP, repackages UDP, and then send it off to 2 leaders. But what they're doing is they're just skipping the RPC node. Yeah, so the trading bot, so they save that hop, right? We're going to save a hop and not going to RPC. And I'm sure that they're looking further down the leader schedule.
Yeah, ultimately, if you're running a trading machine, I think you'd have to be sitting on top of the node, basically running a node yourself and then sending. So that's sort of, okay, that's expected behavior.
Yeah, and then we can do that too, as well. If you guys need to move liquidators to co-locate with an RPC node, that we can do that as well. So
yeah, so okay, so let's move on to we got a bunch of new stuff. I hope that sets everyone has some understanding of the TPS issues now. And so the next thing is liquidity issues. And also, God, every time, let me muted this person. Yeah, mute yourself if you're not intending to speak. So a new development, we are certainly getting more professional traders, like people with very fast ARB bots, and we're able to see that in all the, the volume metrics are up. There are accounts making 100% every 2 weeks, with very large size. So definitely the toxic flow has arrived. Maybe the word toxic flow is what we call this, but maybe that's a loaded term. There's no one who's toxic on Mango, but so that's why I call it the ARB taker flow. Good, I think, overall for the platform, but bad for MMs like me who are just kind of trying to subsidize and be backstop liquidity. So that's something we're working on solving. I'm trying to see if we can get a DAO grant for someone. Max has been working on this, getting a DAO grant for someone to onboard more market makers, someone who can pay attention, to do all the necessary things to be a proper market maker and not get picked off by the ARB bots. So that's happening. Security audit, I posted about this on the forum. Basically, this is a DAO proposal we're gonna have to do in the next session, maybe tomorrow or Monday, when we get the time to launch all these new proposals. But Neodyme agreed to do a security audit, and that would be really cool. A good, if they find something, if they find a bug, that'd be great. We can fix it. Even if they don't find a bug, it'll be super valuable to have a formal security audit from, in my opinion, the best security team best auditing team in Solana. They're willing to kind of fast track us. The only reason it's taken, so they were even willing to do it a week ago, or start on a week ago, but we needed to finish version 3.3.0, which includes, I should mention here, includes closing the Mango account. So that is, Riordan's on the chat. If you want to talk about it, you can talk about the features of 3.3. If not, I can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get to close your Mango account. There's also a few other instructions allowing you to close, like the advanced orders account and spot open orders accounts, the Serum open orders accounts. So only closing the whole Mango account is exposed in the UI at the moment, but we could potentially add something that just closes out a spot open orders account as well, allows you to recover the SOL that was spent on the rent exemption.
Yeah. It seems like a kind of a small thing, but it's unfortunately, anytime you're closing accounts, I think it introduces a big, you have to be very careful with the security. And so that's why I wanted to finish up this branch and then send it off to Neodyne so they can at least take a look at this piece in it together. This should allow, one of the advantages here is that, okay, now you can create a Mango account. You can open Serum decks, Serum open orders accounts, and you'll just reclaim the SOL later. And it allows us basically to, first of all, I think the typical person would get back something like $20 worth, right? Maybe $6 in the Mango account, maybe like 3 open orders, Serum Dex accounts. You can close all those, that's roughly $20 worth of SOL. But it also means we can expand the Mango account later. If all this stuff works well, we can expand the Mango account later and it not be such a big issue. Like, okay, you might have to put down $10 or $15 to open a Mango account, but you just get it right back. As soon as you're done using the platform, you get it right back. And then as a side note, there were people who, you know, tell your friends, tell your grandma, don't send SOL directly into your Mango account. That feels like a natural thing to do, maybe if you're coming from Ethereum or something, but then it just goes to this data struct. It's an account that's owned by the Mango program. And so far it has not been recoverable. People have spent like tens of thousands of dollars in that way. And now you can recover it, luckily. But yeah, you know, you want to, if you're sending money in, you want to use the user interface or the command line tools. So yeah, so that's version 3. And then there's some other, you know, there's a bunch of small quality of life things that are included in 3.3. Go look at the change logs and get Jupyter integration. So this has sort of taken us a little bit longer and a lot of frustration. But I think we're like pretty close to the end here. I don't know if is Tyler here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much done on development. I just had some issues yesterday with actually deploying it to alpha.mango.markets, but it should be up there today. Actually, Jupyter is planning on announcing our integration with their swap on Monday, so it has to be out by then. But I'll put a link in the Zoom chat if you're not familiar with the Jupyter aggregator. It's a swap that takes a bunch of different routes through Serum and various AMMs and can do multiple hops to try and get you the best rate for whatever you're swapping. It's pretty cool. But we'll have their swap directly in the Mango UI to support, you know, a much larger variety of tokens, but it's not going to be at this point integrated with your Mango account. You know, it just will be swapping directly within your wallet. But I think it'll be nice because it'll just keep more people in the Mango UI. And also there's, you know, more and more activity on these bridging platforms, Wormhole and Allbridge. And right now, Mango supports the solid wrapped, but I don't know. I keep hearing that they're going to move over to more of the Wormhole markets on Serum or the Allbridge. I don't know what it's going to be, but anyway, it won't matter. You can switch between those on Jupiter. And maybe down the road, we can integrate with the Mango account and use the Serum B discount, but that's not in there yet, but it will be in the UI before Monday. All the UI work is done, and they have an NPM package. It's not open source yet. I think they're working on doing that, but that's been part of the frustration, is because the NPM package, they're updating it about every other day. It's changing, and they have some docs on integrating. I think there's a couple other integration partners that will be announced along with Mango on Monday. But I've just been working directly with the team, and we'll have to continue doing that to get it actually deployed on trade.mango. I'll post a link in Discord once it's up on alpha. Need a couple people just to test it out, see if there's any bugs. The Mango UI version will look very, very similar to the Jupiter one. But yeah, that should be coming soon.
As I understand, it was a deployment issue, like the last day.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday I spent a couple hours trying to figure out how to just get it deployed to alpha.mango.markets, and it's still not there. So, it's like but the actual work, I have it locally on a branch. If somebody wants to, pull it and run it locally, you can test it out. But yeah, the goal is to get it on alpha.mango deployed today.
Yeah. This was been kind of initially the idea here was, okay, we have a mega serum. Let's see if we can make the mega serum be used for all serum trades, and then people can just come to Mango and use it. That would be, well, two things happened. First, I realized it's not that simple. It's especially the Jupyter is like its own program. It's not just some UI thing. And then secondly, Serum reduced the fees, like totally, cut the fees down from 22 bips to right now it's 2.4 bips if you have a mega serum, but if you don't have a mega serum, it's like what is it, 3.2 or something. It's like less than a 1 basis point difference at this point. And then I thought, okay, using the mega serum here is not going to give us that much upside, but still you can now, you could say you can go to Mango markets, run the UI locally or run it, go to trade.mango.markets, whatever. And you just have access to all of the trading on Solana. Should help a little bit, or a decent bit. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then account equity and PnL, I think Clark Kenny's not here, which is something I was thinking maybe we should even move this 1 hour further so we can get more West Coast people in, West Coast US people in. But yeah, so Clark Kenny's not here. But I'll just briefly describe, we've been working on this for a while, and Clark Kenny hasn't been able to do this full time. He had another job. Now he's doing this full time. What we want to be able to do, what we have the capacity to do, is show your account equity since Mango V3 started. Just basically plot your account equity, right? Like what's been your performance. And then from there, we can also get your PnL. And then later we can get your PnL per perp market. There's just been a lot of work to do the logging, to do the databases and the calculations. It's like complicated logic. It's not as simple as you do it on a centralized exchange. You have to scrape the transactions. Funding is all like O of 1 algorithms. Interest is O of 1. Anyway, if you've wondered why it's been taking so long, it's because it's a complicated thing. But that should be out this week. It's also like Christmas week, but we'll see. We can't rest. There's no Christmas until you can see your equity. Man, there's so much stuff like that's been coming out recently. So locked token governance. This was also something we talked about a lot, and just didn't have the manpower to do it until sort of Christian and microwavedcola have started doing it. So I don't know if Christian, you have anything to say about this?
I can give the status update.
Sweet.
Hey.
Yeah.
So we have the basic program done that will work with SPL governance to allow people to voluntarily lock up tokens, potentially get a small voting power benefit from that, to give grants to people, and then they can already use it in governance while it vests gradually. So the program itself is done. It has received the first few reviews. The big review from Neodyme will likely happen in January, along with a new version of SPL governance. And also we'll start working on the governance UI integration early in January. So it will still take a bit, but it's moving.
Yeah, the program seems done, and I think there's it's been on my to-do list to review this, but I just have just kept postponing it. But luckily, there's lots of people now to review this, and Sebastian, the DAO father, has also been helping and reviewing these things. So governance version 2, which I don't even know what this means.
Yeah.
But Max, yeah.
Yeah, so governance version 2 is like is an umbrella for a lot of fixes that got piled up, including the change to allow this voter stake registry to be deployed. It was supposed to be audited this week, but then Mango v3 needed to be audited. So live deployed programs have priority at Neodyme. So I think the audit will be in early 2022, hopefully in the first weeks of January. Made them aware that we should also mention this at any possible occasion that people are waiting to get paid. And so they should, even though it's not online yet, they should accelerate it because it's actually vital for the functioning of the whole project. And yeah, there's a good bunch of like features that were split on the old UI that will now be ported to the new UI, and we're nearly finished with that. So I think 1st of January is kind of the date that we see where we finally can move DAO beta away from its beta status and have everything working in the new UI that Sam was so grateful to design. And I think it's really exciting because it means also that I think the efficiency will be drastically increased for a lot of the things we're seeing. And I think we will have like, there's one feature we've been waiting for, right? That is in this lump sum of governance 2.0, which is multiple choice voting, which I'm personally like most excited about. I don't know, I think the last slot should be like a really big vote. And it should be like very contentious and like a full on like, shield your shit coin thing. Like, I think it will be kind of interesting debate on chain. So we've been like one new voting type that will exist is like the possibility to propose 10 or 20 different outcomes and then vote on those instead of just what we've been doing so far with a bit of like orchestration or management behind the scenes, simulate multiple choice voting. It will actually be that. Kind of excited for that. It will be the last slot, I think. We only have one left, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, one left for now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Exactly, which is the kind of like the next point, right? Is like I added this because I think we haven't talked about this in a while. Kind of have been like all like pushed down with the recent Solana scaling issues and basically just like firefighting, I think, since Lisbon. And even before Lisbon, there was the liquidity incentive drama kind of, right? Like, or like development. So there was a lot of like, I would say, just making V3 work, maintenance and adding new features.
And I think given that this is the last meetup this year, I thought it'd be good to have like an open conversation about like where we want to put our focus on in the first quarter. And yeah, and like look at it, Mango, maybe with like a few steps backwards, and like, you know, like where are the things that we really need to improve, right? That are more than like 1 week or 2 week efforts. I'm curious actually to make this a broader discussion.
Yeah,
for me, it's kind of like the end. So
I didn't have anything planned on that. So if you guys have, this is the open session now. Like what's necessary to make Mango the next NASDAQ?
I think that I'm interested once Solend or if Mango can implement it and do siloed borrowing. If Mango can tie that in with the Serum markets, then Mango becomes one place to borrow and trade any coin on. So I don't know how hard that is. It obviously sounds like a big project, but that really makes it a one-stop shop.
Yeah. Actually, microwavedcola and Christian had started on this. I think this was codenamed Mango Slice. And I guess the idea is, it's sliced or isolated. Anyway, is just the name Impossible Pairs had come up with. A wordsmith of our time. But yeah, so I think there's a bunch of pieces that have to be put together for it to work well. Of course, a good user interface, some kind of way to arbitrage liquidity. Obviously, you can't guarantee liquidity on every shitcoin on the internet, but you could help the process along with some art bots. Otherwise, you might find, anyway, you don't need a centralized approach for liquidity, but you would need some kind of way to manage the liquidators. Like, how would the liquidators work? The Oracle prices, right? Like, so far we've just been using Oracle prices. We haven't like had to cross this into this territory of now we are the Oracle. We're sort of getting into that with MNGO, because MNGO, at least for a while there, it was mostly traded on Mango, but we were still using this Oracle that was like referencing FTX. But if you have these random shitcoins like Samo, right, that's only traded on Serum, and then you can manipulate that and get people liquidated. Anyway, super hard problem. I don't know if microwavedcola has thought more about this or has more opinions.
Yeah, I think we look at it as like a two-step or two milestones, right? The first milestone is just getting isolated Serum markets working. And we are actually we did quite a lot of the smart contract in November, basically. And the initial stuff is working, but liquidity was kind of our second milestone. And that's, of course, a bit more harder problem. There are like various things like doing those bots, as you said, or using some sort of bonds, or having very just setting up formal non-smart contract processes for onboarding market makers, right? Like if a protocol wants to be listed on Serum, then they also give these tokens in a public fashion to somebody, and then they trade on these and manage the liquidity and stuff. But it's as Daffy said, it's a larger project, and you also need to replicate a lot of things which Mango V3 does, right? The off-chain services, a lot of the UI. And currently we are just working on the smart contract, and you would also need more people to kind of take the project to the first milestone. Yeah. But
yeah,
that's that. And we are now basically working on the SPL governance, the voting vesting thing. So that project is kind of paused for now.
Yeah, core here is, I think, like good UI engineer. Yeah, I think there are a couple of user interface and infrastructure challenges. I think if I look back at like 2021, I think most of the things that actually failed were collecting trades from Serum Dex event queue. I think it's like one of our hardest engineering problems. And I think we struggle with it a lot because we usually had this like approach to say, hey, we're going to build this in a way for ourselves. We're going to let people use our API, but it's not built on a level of scale that it's actually ready for like a bunch of like market makers or people who query the API really like aggressively. It will go down. Usually goes down quite easily. And then it impacts the quality of service for everyone, at least on the user interface side. So I think that was like one thing we noticed is like this whole some of the data that is maybe not safe directly on chain, but needs to be stored off chain. It's usually a huge impact to implement. And the Serum team had like I think very strict, we don't touch that stuff policy. And then all the separate UI providers started doing that. But because we have been always investing a lot in our own user interface, we also built the necessary infrastructure in terms of data aggregation ourselves. And I feel this is like such a huge job that it's like its own, like it needs dedicated people. It's been a bit like a, feels like a product itself, right? Like somehow if people want to use that on top of Mango, they should maybe even pay for it because it's quite expensive to run and like operate. So there's a question a bit like how we want to, we can definitely subsidize it, I think, for long term, but the question is like, can we subsidize it enough to have sufficient level of QoS for every trader on it? Similar to the RPC nodes where we block people that send too many requests, we might need to put those rate limits in place as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we kind of had the luxury of just brushing under the rug. We just starting out say, well, it doesn't matter. There's only like a few hundred people. So we just run the service, or the liquidator will just run in TypeScript and it's fine. You don't have to optimize it for anything. But now we are definitely thinking a lot more about scalability and scaling, but also being decentralized, because you need the censorship resistance aspect. If like the whole, like if the project only works as long as you're small, that's a total waste of time. So you have to, yeah, we have to get there, scaling and keeping the decentralization. I think probably like going forward, we can't subsidize all the traffic with like nodes and stuff. Although the nodes have not been the issue this last couple of weeks. You know, the nodes were all fine. So maybe we have definitely room to subsidize it further, but maybe there's I know Brian has thought more about this of like subscription model. You subscribe to your RPC provider and you kind of take that along with you wherever you go. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that's the way. So scaling, certainly. I mean, for me, like I want to put together a kind of, this has been happening in the background, but not so successfully, but put together like a team of people who are near each other or in the same time zone or close to each other in the same time zone to build a next version of the protocol. This well, you know, it doesn't have to be the next version of the protocol, but like any kind of big concerted push. Working in a decentralized manner, like one of the issues that I've had, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but there's like no off time, you know, there's like, you wake up and you talk to Europeans, and then you talk to Americans, and then Asians and Australians, and then you go to sleep. And then, you know, and then the market crashes at 3 in the morning, so you wake up anyway. So there's one of the nice things about being in the same time zone or close to each other is that you're all sleeping. You can't bother each other when you're all sleeping or off work, and you can just coordinate when you're awake. We'll see. Maybe, you know, I actually don't know. I think when I started like a year ago, I think I was talking to Max, and I was like, I was super skeptical that I wouldn't have guessed we would get this far, because I think I was saying like, well, Max can't come to the US and I can't go to Germany, so I'm very deeply skeptical of this idea. But you know, we got pretty far being distributed, and we always have to be, obviously. Like you can't just. But I don't know. Maybe we can do more like there's silos of Mango, not silos. You know, people in there's like the Mango squad in Europe, and they work on tightly integrated projects together. You know, and there's like the US, there's the Australia, Asia side. We'll see. That's something that I've been working on. So Mango Labs, the only thing is the obviously huge downside of like being in one place or one time zone, you dramatically limit the amount of people you can work with. So finding people, competent, good people, has obviously been a little bit slow, but yeah, it's somewhat of a priority for me.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I want to set up a somehow working like responsibilities for managing the inbound and like the people we've been like working with on the trading side. I feel there's like different categories, different needs, and right now it's all very raw and unfiltered, and that's good because it's still manageable. Maybe like, you know, a couple hundred traders in total. But I feel it's like growing to the point where right, certain relationships maybe are currently more connected because of time zones. I see you and Mike writing at like 4 a.m. my time, and I read that the next morning, and that's great. Like one relationship I think you have been holding very close, but the more the more people we onboard, the more important it will be that they have like full support. And then we're kind of like, I feel we're making the first steps in that, right? Like we're onboarding maybe a new trader every week. Feels like that, like big traders that have like a proper setup. And
to be fair though, it feels like that, and then I look at the volume metrics, and I'm like, wait, those are just my accounts.
Oh really?
So, yeah. So that's so I definitely, that's a huge priority. I would say like #1 priority is, especially now that the toxic flow is here, getting someone else to deal with the toxic flow. Like, I think I could do the job, but it requires monitoring and like, you know, actual attention. Can't just run a, you know, trading machine and just walk away. And that's exactly what I've done. So getting those people, but like, yeah, exactly how to get them or what exactly stopping them from doing this. Obviously the last 2 weeks. So the way I'm measuring my progress is like, what percentage of the maker volume are my accounts? And I'll be totally honest.